It's been weeks since I've eaten. Weeks since I've gotten a good night's sleep in this cold, heavy winter of Canada up in these mountains. All I have is my hide to keep me warm and my thirst for vengeance for my son. Hello, welcome back to another midnight showing. As always, I'm Kelly, and I just got out of The Revenant. Okay, not exactly just got out of. This is actually the first time I've been able to record. It's been really busy with school. So, I'm not going to be doing a lot of editing in this one like I'm doing in the other ones. Mostly because I'm saving the editing time that I have for my lists at the moment. So, I'm going to get those pumped out. They should be coming out shortly after the videos that are coming out now. I just wanted to give something to you guys in the meantime while I'm editing out the last few little hiccups. With that said, let's talk about The Revenant. The Revenant, by God, I wish this movie had actually come out before I made my top 10 best movies of last year list, because this probably would have knocked something off of it. Maybe The Hateful Eight, I'm not really sure about that. It could have been something else. Maybe Naruto, maybe put it on an honorable mention. I don't know. But you know what? This movie was amazing. It was breathtaking. If there's one word that describes this movie, it is brutal. Unlike something like Unbroken, where it was torturing the guy for half the movie. And yeah, that was bad. This movie does a lot of setup so that when you see Leonardo Dicaprio surviving shit in the second act, and it is structured like that. First act is set up with the guy getting hurt, with Leonardo DiCaprio getting hurt. The second arc is just him surviving, and then the third arc, which is the shortest, is just when he gets found, and finally the climax with Tom Hardy, the man who killed his son. The story is very simplistic, and it's just a revenge story, but what makes it is just the brutality of everything. This is all shot so beautifully, and by God, when fucking Leonardo DiCaprio gets attacked by the bear at the very beginning, the bear literally takes chunks out. Every time that CGI bear's claws gouged into him, pieces of him would disappear. For most of the movie, literally, there are chunks missing from his hand, and you can see the bones and some of the things move underneath. This is a brutal, heavy take on this. And it's more interesting than, say, something like Unbroken, because Unbroken was boring. It spent so much time just watching this guy do nothing in a raft, or do nothing inside of this camp, or do nothing carrying a log over his head. Leonardo DiCaprio is always doing something. He is always working towards his survival. Every second, whether it's the few moments when he actually needs to rest, when he needs to build a fire, when he needs to outrun the Native Americans. I can't be unpolitically correct these days now, can I? When he's running from these mass murdering aliens. Sorry, Indians, I said aliens. But it's... yeah, it's... Seriously, he's always doing something to push through to his end goal, which is vengeance. And it is awesome. Every step of the way has you on the edge of your seat. This movie has some problems. The simplistic plot. The first third of the movie is shot really weird. It's beautiful, but I don't know. It felt like it was trying to do everything in one take with as minimalistic as cuts as possible inside of it, as few as they could possibly manage, and the camera kept swinging and looking up and down, up and down. I don't know, I was just getting vertigo in my seat for the first 20 or so minutes. I really thought I was going to puke and I needed to go out of the theater. Granted, I went in there a little sick to my stomach already, so it might have just added to it, but it's just one of those things that just had me going, ugh. But yeah, my final verdict, for those who don't want really any more spoilers, but really, what am I going to spoil other than how he survives certain shit, is a must-see. Go see this immediately. And honestly, if you haven't seen this yet, why not? I know that I'm really late on this review. But that's mostly because, hey, guess what? This supposedly came out back in December. It didn't. It came out the second week of January. They had a limited release so that they could get a bunch of Oscar baits. And that's the problem with these Oscar bait movies and why I don't really review many of them this time of year, because I live in a town they're not going to come to for God knows months at a time. So, yeah, I don't normally get the chance to review these until January. And this is no exception. So, yeah, that's it for the spoiler-free section. From here on out, fair game. Just word of warning. So, yeah, as I said, let's talk about the beautiful stuff. This film is fucking beautiful. It is shot so beautifully, and most of it is quote-unquote natural light, which is what the director wanted. He just wanted to wait until the perfect time of day and then shoot, which I imagine the studio hated him for that. But it looks so good because of it. Everything looks amazing. There's small CGI enhancements, and I think there might be a color filter on basically the whole thing, giving it more of a bluish teal, especially when they are just doing the backgrounds and whatnot. But it still is beautiful. There's no one can argue that cinematography on this film is below par. Hell, I think it actually got an Oscar nod. I haven't actually watched those and looked up what got awards and what hasn't. All I know is that Star Wars got 5 Oscars. It turns out that even the Academy and Oscars are not immune to nostalgia. But without me pissing you guys off anymore about Star Wars, because I know I've said a lot in my last few videos. But yeah, this movie was definitely one of those ones that would, if it wins Best Cinematography, I have no problems with it. It fucking deserves it. It is beautiful. Every single shot. The forest, the sky, the fucking landscapes when he's looking off the cliffs and whatnot. Just everything works very well inside of this. And it is a beautiful looking film. Now, as I said, the brutality on it is definitely a plus in its side, a plus in its favor. It does not pull its punches. When Leonardo DiCaprio gets attacked by the bear, and I said chunks are bitten out of him, I mean literal chunks. There are pieces of his guts that are missing. There's one guy who got attacked by the Chinooks. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong now that I think about that. There are two tribes of Native Americans in this: the Chinooks and the Paiwanee. The Paiwanee are the nicer ones. They're the ones that actually help settlers. They're the ones who actually do give a damn and are willing to coexist. The Chinooks are the ones that hate everyone and kill a lot. They're the ones who are known for scalping their foes. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And one of the guys gets attacked by him, and literally his dead body is just sitting inside the boat later in the scene, and he's got his guts literally hanging out of his stomach. And I do mean like all of them hanging out. Think like that parody scene inside of Tropic Thunder, but done for real. It's just... And Leonardo DiCaprio, the bear literally takes a chunk out of his neck. And he can't swallow, he can't eat, because every time he tries to, it reopens the wound, and he ends up throwing it back up and coughing out blood. Realizing that he needs to, he takes some gunpowder, fills the entire wound with it, starts a fire, and sears it shut. And you can actually see the whole thing sear his throat. And you can just hear when he just can't breathe as the gunpowder literally explodes in his wound. This movie is graphic. Extraordinarily graphic. When the final fight scene between Tom Hardy and Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the most brutal fight scenes I've seen in film in a long time. And it's not heavily choreographed. It's a lot of pretty simplistic moves. But they're back and forthing it the entire time. Tom Hardy manages to stab Leonardo DiCaprio in the hand, but Leonardo DiCaprio manages to get his axe and literally chop off 3 of the three of Tom Hardy's fingers with the hand he just used to stab Leonardo DiCaprio. And, of course, they actually do show his fingers come off, and the rest of the fight, his fingers are dripping blood. I mean, there's a attention to detail here that is just fucking mind-blowing. And it really does show in its brutality. There, as I said, there was a scene where Leonardo DiCaprio has to survive the winter by literally cutting the guts out of his horse and then sleeping in its dead carcass, tauntaun on Hoth. And frankly speaking, when they did the tauntaun scene inside of Star Wars, simple lightsaber, you see some guts come out, and that's it. Well, in this one, he cuts open the horse, and he literally starts digging all of its organs out, taking his knife and shredding the muscle from the skin, so he could literally drag its bigger stuff out, the intestines, the fucking stomach, the spinal cord, all of it, just so he could drag it out. He's just sitting there with his knife while the storm is getting worse and worse and worse. And when he's done, he takes off all of his clothes and he just goes inside there because he doesn't want all of his clothes smothered in this blood, I would assume, because that would be very, very unhealthy, especially with a man with many open wounds as him. Granted, he's going in there butt naked, but what can you do? Whatever you do to fucking survive. And this movie could be retitled that. Survival the Movie. You really do feel like you are a mountain man stuck on this mountain. And how would you survive this? How do you get food? Are there anybody who's actually going to help? Is there anyone who's actually going to help you? Do you steal from these obvious French bastard merchants who are probably responsible for your entire crew dying? Yeah, fucking yes. Are you going to actually risk your own neck to save this girl, this Indian girl, who's getting raped in front of you? Well, all these questions and more will be answered inside of this film. The plot is basically very simplistic, and it does work in this movie's favor, because if it had too many intricate details, it probably would have been really, really dumb. But Leonardo DiCaprio, I keep wanting to say Vincent D'Onofrio for some reason. Leonardo DiCaprio is a mountain man hired by this crew to keep them alive while they go out hunting small game for pelts, beavers and stuff. And he's doing his job for the most part until they get attacked by a very vastly superior Chinook's force, and they're forced to run. They all run to their boat as fast as they can. They left a good 9/10 of the furs that they had actually gathered there, which were stolen by the Indians and then sold to the French. Kind of a funny little historical commentary right there. But, they had a crew of 40. By the time these guys were done with them, they were down to 10. And they basically outrunning them the entire the entire first third of the movie. That's what's going on. Is they're trying to get back to the fort where they know they'll be safe and have the numbers and the fortifications to take down these Indians. So they realize along the way that they can't carry all the furs that they actually managed to save with them. It's just too much baggage. So they end up leaving them behind, and that's where you start to feel the first tension between Tom Hardy, who is just a trapper that's hired on this crew, and Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio has a half Taiwanese son that, he's trying to teach the ways of and keep him alive. Mr. Tom Hardy was attacked by Indians, Chinooks, not Taiwanese, and he was scalped. He literally has a big old chunk missing out of his head when he takes off his bandana or his hat. And again, attention to detail. Spot on. So he doesn't very much like the fact that there is an Indian inside of the group, and he is very vocal about his feelings about him, which causes tension with Leonardo DiCaprio and causing them to butt heads to the point where Leonardo DiCaprio is on the smart end of a rifle. But while they're running away, Leonardo DiCaprio goes to scout ahead, and that's when he literally has the worst luck in the world, and he gets attacked by a bear. He takes out the bear, and the crew gets to him fast enough that they can start stitching his wounds up. And probably the only reason why he's still alive. They tried to take him with them, building him a little board and everything, and carry him back to the fort. When it becomes quite clear that there's just too much snow on the mountain and for them to go over the hill like they need to, there's no way that they're going to be able to get him to safety, let alone themselves, due to the weather and the Indians following them. So he pays Tom Hardy, another guy, and Leonardo DiCaprio's son to basically watch over Leonardo DiCaprio. If he dies, give him a burial and find your way here. Or if he doesn't, keep him warm, keep his wounds clean, give him food, try to get him back to health, and just hide it out. Well, slowly but surely, Tom Hardy starts to go, and he ends up trying to smother Leonardo DiCaprio so that he can get his $300 and go home. Leonardo DiCaprio's son catches him in the act. Tom Hardy ends up gutting him several times. The next night, Tom Hardy convinces the other guy that he saw the Indians, 20 of them coming up from the creek, and they need to get the hell out of there. So they end up leaving Leonardo DiCaprio there for dead, literally half buried in a hole while breathing. Worst luck ever. But through sheer determination, Leonardo DiCaprio just pushes himself out of there. He sets his leg, he sears his wound shut, he literally crawls for miles in the snow and dirt with nothing but a cantina of water. And somehow he actually does survive long enough to make it back to the camp. And he does get help along the way. Passerby, Pawnee Indian who is hunting buffalo. Which that was actually a very, very scene. Some of the gore in this is really intense. Pawnee gutting this buffalo, and when Leonardo DiCaprio begs him for food, he ends up throwing him either his heart or the thing's heart or the thing's liver, and Leonardo DiCaprio takes a bite out of it and just it's just so nasty. It even almost makes Leonardo DiCaprio throw up, but he just pushes through it and just starts chucking the thing down because he needs food. It was brutal. This movie is very, very brutal. It's realistic. It is action-packed. It does have some problems. The simplistic nature of the story, you know where it's going to go. The fight with Tom Hardy at the very end, yeah, we all saw it coming. And there weren't any real twists and turns in the movie. Not that the movie really needed them, but you could have added a little bit more. There's very little talk inside of this movie once Leonardo DiCaprio is surviving. For one, his throat's gouged out. He can barely eat, let alone speak. Second, who the fuck is he going to talk to? Granted, when he meets up with the Pawnee Indian who helps him, they have some good conversations. Completely 100% in Indian with subtitles, but that kind of thing doesn't bother me when I watch anime that much. But I could see someone actually saying, I didn't go to this movie to read, I went to this movie to see and hear. Which, yeah, I get it, but at the very least, they're being very realistic with this. And yeah, that conversation lasts not very long because literally, they spend 2 days together, these two, Leonardo and this Indian. A big storm comes through right as Leonardo passes out. So the Pawnee Indian builds some little fortress, gets some hot rocks, and puts it inside of his little hut with him. And when Leonardo DiCaprio wakes up the next morning, can't find the Indian anywhere. He goes looking around. Eventually, he stumbles across him hanging from a tree. Apparently, a band of French merchants who hate him and his kind hung him from the tree while Leonardo was sleeping. Leonardo, admittedly, is shocked and hurt by this, but he ends up stealing from these guys as well as shooting several of them to get horse some food and some gunpowder. And that's where he ends up helping this Shiunks Indian that was kidnapped by them and subsequently raped multiple times, I imagine, and frees her on his way out. That comes into play later when it turns out that while Tom Hardy and him are fighting, Leonardo's about to finish him, but he sees the Shiunks Indians across the creek. So he ends up throwing Tom Hardy to him so that they could finish him off by scalping him, which is a very brutal but fitting punishment for this bastard. And the only reason why they don't attack him is as they're walking away, he sees like 3 horses into their little caravan. There's the Indian he saved. Full circle. His actions allowed him to get his revenge. I kind of like that. And the acting on all of this is just superb. You really do feel like Leonardo DiCaprio is going to win his Oscar this time. Probably won't because there are other high-profile Oscar bait movies, The Big Short, that are going to take the cake. Just saying. And Tom Hardy as this bastard, this half-crazed bastard, it's kind of nice to see him act without a fucking mask on his face. I am not Bane. And he has more dialogue than he did inside of Mad Max, so that's always a plus. And other than those 3, there's some superfluous characters, like the guy that is running the expedition, played by the same man from Ex Machina. I can't think of his name. I think he's like something Duvall or something like that, or Duval. But he's the head of the company. He's comes into play twice, only to die. I think that was kind of a bad choice, personally. But if he actually did die in real life, because this was based on a true story that was written into, taken from a journal of Glass, the man that Leonardo DiCaprio is playing. And if he actually did die, yeah, I'm sorry. From the movie standpoint, though, it felt like a waste to have a guy who is so high profile because of stuff like Ex Machina, only to kill him off like that. I don't know. It just felt cheap and unnecessary. And then there's the other superfluous character, which was the kid that was with Tom Hardy to watch over Glass, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, while he was recovering. Greenhorn, who fell for the stupid trick that left him for dead. Leonardo DiCaprio's character doesn't hold it against him and even tells the captain as much. He was just following orders. He didn't participate in killing my son. So, yeah. What are the other problems with the film? As I said, the first third, it just shot really weird and gave me vertigo and made me nauseous. The story is very simplistic. And honestly, I can't really think of anything else that the movie did wrong. I don't think of nothing on a technical level. I can't think of anything in the story that really bugged me because it was so simplistic and it was so brutally honest. So, yeah, I got really nothing else to say on this one. My final verdict is go see it immediately. If you haven't seen it, stop watching Star Wars for the 6th time. Go broaden your horizon and go see something that's gonna blow your fucking mind. And, yeah, I'm buying it when it comes out. So, that's it for me. Did you enjoy the video? Have you seen The Revenant? Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below, and maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going. And as always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button and check out the rest of the channel. If you want to see some more of my more recent videos, like my top 10 lists that I keep talking about, I will have those linked right down here. The worst list should be out either Sunday or Monday. I hope to have it done sooner than that, but work schedules, it's not a guarantee. The other 2 lists should be coming out within the week after that. If you want to see some more of my actual reviews, I'll have those linked down here as well. If you want to see some more of my playlists or my channel, I'll have those linked right up here. Be sure to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitch. I'm going to actually do another Twitch session here in tomorrow night, Saturday night, probably after I get out of 13 hours of Benghazi or whatever the hell they want to call it. I'm not really sure. But after we get out of the Michael Bay film, I'm going to come in home, I'm going to record my review, and then I'm going to go to it. So it's probably going to be about 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and I don't know what I'm going to play yet, but I'm going to do another stream session, and I'm going to upload that video to YouTube when I'm done. But and yeah, that's it for me. So I'll guess I'll see you all next time.